I believe United States is fighting two war fronts here. One is the global dominance, where they are fighting the super war like China, India, Russia, South Korea, Japan. This is the global war that US is making to control not only the energy supply, but also the corridors of these energy supply globally. Trump now facing a dilemma. What is actually the objective of this war? That is exactly what the American objective, by the way, is to bring the Gulf country in this war for two reasons. A, they will turn it ultimatum into a Sunni Shia fight. B, they have to pay the bill.
Energy markets are on the edge, oil prices are skyrocketing, and because of this, the world's biggest choke point, the Strait of Hormuz, has essentially been closed by Iran. Can you explain why this is so significant and what options other nations, such as China and South Korea, have? Because we know that the majority of the oil that comes from there is supplied to Asia.
Very good question. I believe United States is fighting two war fronts here. One is the global dominance, where they are fighting the super war like China, India, Russia, South Korea, Japan, because these are the countries which rely more on the, except parting Russia, rest of the countries are importing 60% of their requirement of energy from this part of the world, and the Strait of Hormuz is the center of a trade of 20% of the global trade and oil, and also in the normal trade. So therefore, if they close it, if they create havoc in this region, it will take the minimum of 3 years to clear the mining. So demining will take 3 years. So all these countries' economic development, economic prosperity will be affected and impacted by the American imposing their own blackmailing, that because they have controlled the oil of Venezuela, they are controlling now the oil, if it happened, of Iran, and they will be also going to Algeria, and they will go to Nigeria and Greenland. So therefore, this is the global war that US is making to control not only the energy supply, but also the corridors of these energy supply globally. The second one, as we know, that it is a supreme, to ensure that Israel is a supreme dominant force in the region. So therefore, the impact will be in the region. It is far more than the American anticipated, especially when Iran start attacking the neighboring countries where all the American military bases are stationed there. And we have seen cutting of the LNG, cutting of the oil supply in Aramco and in Qatar. All this have had a great impact on the upsurging of the prices of the oil, and also of the Dow Jones, and all the equity markets as falling down. So this America cannot afford, and that's why President Trump now facing a dilemma. What is actually the objective of this war? I mean, is it the objective of this war seriously? Was it to remove Iranian nuclear? Then why you were saying it is a nuclear discussion was positive? Then if it is regime change, why you are killing civilian and you're killing innocent people? Upholding democracy, why you first of all intervene in 1953 to Tabal Mossadegh, who was an elected government, a prime minister. And now because Iran, oil and gas are being sold not by US dollars. You are dictating, you want to control, to sell it. And I believe those who followed West Asia should see Iraq as an example. 2003, when I was embedded with the American troops, when they invaded Iraq, what was the massive deception, weapon of mass deception they used to fool us that it was the nuclear issue, while we all knew it was never been the oil, it was never been the nuclear issue, it was Iraq oil. And until date, I can tell you, Aisha, not a single Iraqi get his salary before the approval of the American treasury. Everything is sold by dollars, despite the fact they tell you publicly that we are out of Iraq.
You know, there is an elected government in Iran, which is headed by Masoud Pezeshkian. Do you think that the elected government is playing any role in the response to the US aggression, or is the IRGC calling the shots?
See, this is a wartime, and the United States and Israel attacked top leaders of the government. And most of the government, even defense forces, even in the IRG, even the close leader to Ayatollah Khamenei, they've been lost their life. That's why now decentralize their leadership in the country. This is a wartime. The government can devote the domestic issue for the public, and they can ensure that food supply safety, securing their safety and the treatment from the killing. I'm getting messages from Iran. I know families there related to us who are already sleeping in the bathroom because of the civilian has been targeted all over Iran, by the way. It's nothing to do with the military. I mean, this number of killing of Iranian civilian give you a clear indication that this kind of horror is being imposed on the Iranian. So therefore, I don't see any government will be in a position to deal with the military side unless they leave it to the army and to the Republican Guard. And I think the Republican Guard and the army and the political leadership choose the supreme leader, Mustafa Khamenei. I think the supreme leader, he is also the final call is for him. That is where the structure of the defending the country is the top priority for those agencies, while domestically should be run by the government.
Why do you think we're seeing attacks on the Gulf, though? Because beyond U.S. military bases and embassies being targeted, we're seeing attacks take place in Kuwait, Dubai, Bahrain, etc. All of them are facing the brunt of a war that they did not start. What is happening?
That is exactly what happened before the war. In fact, the Iranians sent their envoys to all the Arab states and informed them that any firing, any rocket comes from any American bases in this country, it is a legitimate target for the Iranian and they will attack. So there was some attack which carried out from this country into Iran, as per the Iranian have been saying. So therefore, they have retaliated and attacked. And in war, by the way, nobody can predict anything. You are firing at Iran from thousands of miles, from the warship, ballistic missile, from your B-52 bomber, B-53, F-53, you're bombing from F-16. You are far away from their radar to retaliate against you, right? So you will go only to the military bases where American interest is there. So American interest is in this region. They have 50 to 60,000 American Marines stationed in this part of the world. So when they started this war, the first thing they did, they destroyed the infrastructure of the military establishment of the United States in these bases, especially the anti-missile radars and all, which was coordinating with the Israeli one to attack or counter the Iranian attack rocket. So I think they felt the heat. And second part is a part of also strategy of the Iranian of the war, by the way. Now they are attacking these countries. First of all, it was an international outcry because the international community felt this is no more, not a regional war. This is not Russia and Ukraine. This is a war involving the whole world, and the economy is at risk, including the financial system of the world is at risk. So therefore, there was a response that we should put an end to this war. This is one of the issues. The second issue, which the United States also realized, and Iranian realized, that if the American troops trying to move in, even the warships comes closer to the Strait of Hormuz, Iranian, they will be within their range. So that is also another way that they cannot have supply of their warship from the area they destroyed, which is they can survive 7 days only with these warships, with the fuel they are having with them. So I think militarily, if you ask any military person, he will give you overview in these issues, which is related. That's why we've been asking military personnel about their point of view on those regards. This is how the strategy is being structured and orchestrated, because Iran is facing a tremendous war by the American and the Israelis. The amount of weapon they are throwing, more than 2,000 bombs they have already launched in them. They destroyed lots of infrastructure. They attacked stadium, they attacked school, they killed civilians, they killed girls between 10 to 12, 160 girls, they killed 200 people in the stadium. What the hell is going on? So Iran, it has to make sure it's the survival, it's an extensional war with the United States. And they have been preparing for this ground. Even there are reports which saying that American forces tried to make, a kind of commandos on Iraq with the Israelis, and they captured American soldiers. I don't know how far is this stories, but I think the coming days it will be exposed and showing to the rest of the world that you cannot attack or destabilize the regime or bringing the regime down if you don't put boot on the ground. So I think the Iranians are ready. They are preparing. But if this is dragging the Gulf country into the war, and that is exactly what the American objective, by the way, is to bring the Gulf country in this war for two reasons. A, they will turn it ultimatum into a Sunni Shia fight. B, they have to pay the bill. America does not have the money to pay the bill. Taxpayer in the United States, they will not pay this bill. Who is going to pay the billions of dollars for the American companies who are now manufacturing more weapons to be used except what they have done in Afghanistan. They took from all the world, from Australia to Vietnam to Japan. They collected money from all over the world. Similar thing they did in invasion of Iraq of the coalition of the willing. They immediately collected money from all this world, and then they looted the Iraqi gold and oil, and they siphoned it to pay the bills. So therefore, American, for them, it's a business as usual. For the Arab country told them, no, we are not ready to involve in this war. If you had the military bases for years, ever since the Second Gulf War, why didn't you protected us? Neither during Israel attacking Qatar, nor at this time of the Iranian attacking us. Then what these military bases have been doing all these years, except that the spying on Iran?